Good day, students. Today we will going to have another lesson, and that is the direct proportion. And for today's lesson, we will going to have number one, we will going to have a recap about the ratio and proportion. And number two, we will going to learn what is the direct proportion. Okay, so let's start with a review. What is a ratio? A ratio is a comparison between two sets of numbers. Ratio is also a comparison of two quantities. What is a ratio? We have here an example. There are 8 oranges and 6 lemons in a bowl of fruit. Now, what is the ratio of oranges to lemons? As what we can see, we have here 8 oranges and 6 lemons. So we can say that we have 8 is to 6. 8 oranges and 6 lemons is an example of a ratio. 8 and 6 is a comparison between two sets of numbers, and this one is an example of what we call a ratio. There are three ways in writing a ratio. We have number one, using word 2, like for example 8 to 6. We can also write ratio using colon. This is the example. And lastly, we can write ratio using a fraction form. So we have here 8 over 6. Okay, so remember, we have three ways in writing a ratio. Using word 2, using a colon, and using a fraction form. Now, since we can express or use ratio using a fraction form, we can also express them into its simplest form. Like for example, we have here 12 over 20. 12 over 20 is an example of a ratio. We have two sets of numbers here, the 12 and the 20. Now, since 12 and 20 are still a big number, we can express them in simplest form. How to express them in simplest form? All we have to do is to divide them with their GCF. It's just like the same in simplifying fraction. So what is the GCF of 12 and 20? That is very good. That is 4. So 12 divided by 4, that is 3. And 20 divided by 4, that is 5. So the simplest form of our first ratio, which is 12 over 20, is 3/5. Another example, we have 55 over 100. 55 over 100 is still a big number, and we can express them into simplest form. Now, what do you think is the GCF of 55 and 100? We know the answer. Very good. We can still divide them with their GCF, and that is 5. So 55 divided by 5, we got 11. 100 divided by 5, we got 20. So 55 over 100, the simplest form of this ratio is 11 over 20. Now, as what we can see, that 12 over 20 is really equal to its simplest form, which is 3/5. Same with our second example, 55 over 100 is equal to its simplest form, which is 11 over 20. When two ratios are equal, we can say that these two ratios are proportion to one another. When we say proportion, it is a pair of equal ratio. So 12 over 20 is equal to 3 over 5. 55 over 100 is also equal to 11 over 20. And they are proportion to one another. How can you know that they are proportion? It's easy. All we have to do is to do the cross multiplication. Let's do the cross multiply. 12 times 5 and 3 times 20. 12 times 5 is 60 and 3 times 20, that is still 60. So you can see 60 and 60 are equal, so it means to say they are proportion. How about with our second example? 55 over 100 and 11 over 20. Let's try to do the cross multiplication. 55 times 20, that is 1,100. And 11 times 100, the answer is still 1,100. So, as what you can see, they are equal. So, they are proportion. Okay, we can also use the cross multiplication in finding the value of a variable. Just like, for example, we have here 5 over 10 is equal to 3 over n. As what you can see, we have a missing value of the variable and we write it as n. N stands for number and we still don't know the value of this n. So, with our knowledge in cross multiplication, we can find the value of this variable n. So let us try. 3 times 10, 5 times 10. 3 times 10 is 30, 5 times n is 5n. This time, let us divide them by 5 so that we can cancel 5 and n will be left. So 30 divided by 5, the answer is 6. Bring down n, so n is equal to 6. And if we're going to substitute it, we're going to write n is equal to 6. And if we're going to do the cross multiplication, 3 times 10, that is 30. And 5 times 6, that is still 30. So you can see, they are equal to one another. So that is how we find the value of a variable. All we have to do is to use the cross multiplication. We can also apply that one in our example number 2 here. So we can do the cross multiply. 5 times n, 4 times 20. 4 times 20, 5 times n, we have 4 times 20 is 80, 5 times n is 5n. So let us divide them by 5. Divide them by 5 so that we can cancel 5 and n will be left. So 80 divided by 5, the answer here is 16. Which means to say the value of n here is 16. Okay, so if we're going to check 4 times 20, that is 80. And 5 times 16 is still 80. So you can see, we are equal to one another. So to find the value of a variable, all we have to do is to use the cross multiplication. Now our learnings about cross multiplication is very important with our lesson, which is direct proportion. Now what is a direct proportion? A direct proportion, two quantities are directly proportional if an increase in one quantity corresponds to a constant increase in the other quantity, or if a decrease in one quantity corresponds to a constant decrease in the other quantity. Okay, in simpler terms, when we say direct proportion, if one quantity increases, the other quantity will also increase. If one quantity will decrease, the other quantity will also decreases. Now, let us try this one using our word problem here. Jim works in a cafeteria. He works 5 hours in a day and got a salary of 540 pesos. If he worked overtime for 10 hours, how much will be his salary? So as what you can see, if Jim works 5 hours in a day, he will get a salary of 540 pesos. Now, how about if Jim will going to do overtime for 10 hours? What will happen to its salary? Will it increase or will it decrease? Of course, since the number of hours become higher, the salary will also become higher than 540. So this one is an example of the direct proportion. It's because if the salary or if the number of hours increases, the salary will also increase. So Jim's salary are directly proportional to the hours he works. This is an example of a direct proportion. Another example, a train travels 200 kilometers in 5 hours. How much time will it take to cover 600 kilometers? So as what you can see, in 5 hours, the train travels 200 kilometers. Now, how about if the train travels for 600 kilometers? What will happen to the number of hours? Of course, since the train travels much more higher compared to 200, it means to say that the time will also become higher. So if one quantity increases, the other quantity will also increases. If the increase of if there is an increase of kilometers, there will be also an increase to the number of hours. And this is an example of a direct proportion. Now, below are some cases where two quantities are so related to an increase or decrease in one, which causes a corresponding increase or decrease in the other. We have here letter A. The more the number of items, the bigger the amount. This one is very applicable if you are in a grocery store. If you're going to buy many items, if you're going to put many items in your basket, of course, the amount will be bigger. So, if there is an increase of item, the amount will also increases. So this one is the direct proportion. Another example, the number of person, the more the number of person, the more food is required. Okay, so if you have many person, of course you need to have a lot of food to cater the number of people. So this one is also a direct proportion. We have also the faster the speed, the greater the distance. If you run very fast, you are going to have larger distance. Okay, the greater the length, the bigger the area. Okay, so if one quantity will increase, the other quantity will also increase, and that is what we call direct proportion. Now, let us try to have some word problem here. This is the word problem that we have a while ago. Jim works in a cafeteria. He works 5 hours in a day and gets a salary of 520 pesos. That's what you can see. In 5 hours of work, he will gain 540 pesos. Now, if he will work overtime for 12 hours, that's what you can see, the number of hours become higher. So expect that his salary will also be higher. So if there is an increase to the number of hours, there will also an increase to his salary. So as what you can see, for 5 hours, the salary of Jim is 540 pesos. Now, if he will work for 12 hours, again, 5 hours, 540. If he will work for 12 hours, what will be or how much will be his salary? Now in this case, can you still remember to find the value of a variable? What we do is we do the cross multiplication. Very good. So we can do cross multiplication. 5 times n, that is 5n. And 12 times 540, that is 5,480. So we can divide them by 5. Divide them by 5 so that we can cancel 5 and n will be left. So 5,480 divided by 5, we get the answer of n is equal to 1,296. So it means to say that if Jim will work overtime for 12 hours, his salary will be 1,296 pesos. So that's what you can see here. The hours become higher, his salary also increases. Direct proportion. Let's have another example. A train travels 200 kilometers in 5 hours. How much time it will take to cover 600 kilometers? Well, let us put this one in fraction form. 200 kilometers for 5 hours. 600 kilometers, we still don't know how many hours. So we're just going to put n. So let's do the cross multiplication. 200 times n, that is 200n. 600 times 5, that is 3,000. What's next? We're going to divide them by 200 so that we can cancel 200 and n will be left. So 3,000 divided by 200, the answer is 15. So n here is equal to 15. What is 15? 15 hours. So 600, the train can travel 600 kilometers in 15 hours. Okay. Let's proceed to our last example. A man earns 5,000 in 20 days. How much will he earn in 30 days? As what you can see, in 20 days of work, the man can earn 5,000 pesos. Now, how about if he will work for 30 days? What will happen to his salary? Of course, it will become higher than 5,000 because he works for 30 days. Now, how much will be his salary for 30 days? So we can put this one, 5,000 in 20 days. How about in 30 days, how much will be his salary? Again, the numbers here below are the number of days, and the numbers here above is the total earnings of the man. So we can do now the cross multiplication. 5,000 times 30, that is 1,500. N times 20, that is 20n. We know what to do. We're going to divide them by 20 so that we can cancel 20. And then n will be left. So 1,500, 150,000 divided by 20. The answer here is n is equal to 7,500 pesos. So it means to say, if the man will work for 30 days, he will earn 7,500. Now, let us recap. What is a direct proportion? Direct proportion tells us that if one quantity will increase, the other quantity will also increase. And if one quantity will decrease, the other quantity will also decrease. Now this time, I want you to open our math book and let us try to answer some word problem. So that's all for today. Thank you so much and